Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday, September 1st, DJ.
Yeah.
Edition to the Fox Sports Fantasy 15 podcast and Google Hangout. DJ Foster's with me today. DJ, we're going to get right to something in your backyard. The Chargers, DJ's outside of San Diego, by the way. And the Chargers talked a lot yesterday. There's an article in the San Diego Union Tribune on, I think, Monday, talking about, hey, running back committee, we're going to use everybody. It's great. Everybody's good, and we're going to compliment each other, and it's awesome. It's not awesome for fantasy owners, is it? Are you buying into this?
Decidedly not awesome for fantasy owners, and I am somewhat buying into it. I don't think it'll be a multi-back committee. I do think Danny Woodhead is going to steal a lot of third down work, and maybe even the occasional shotgun red zone carry. But look, here's the thing. Don't freak out about Melvin Gordon's stats. Ryan Matthews in 2013, the same year that Danny Woodhead had his great 2013 campaign with the Chargers, 285 carries for Matthews that year. 285.
And when you're a guy who gets hurt every other game, that's a lot.
Right. 285 carries, 1,200 yards, 6 touchdowns. That's still clear RB1 production. And in that same year, Woodhead had 76 catches and 106 carries himself. There's enough room for 2 running backs to be viable in Mike McCoy's offense, I believe.
All right, so not the Brandon Oliver thing. People shouldn't be panicking that he's going to steal a bunch of stuff.
I wouldn't be concerned with Oliver. No, I think it's a two-man job, Matthews and Gordon for sure.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Woodhead and Gordon.
Woodhead and Gordon. Okay. So you have in your running back rankings, Melvin Gordon. Hold, please. Little technical difficulty, very minor, but I got it. You have Melvin Gordon at 14. I had him at 15 as of today. You're still comfortable with that?
Yeah, I'm very cozy with him, getting him at the back end of the 3rd round, start of the 4th. Sure, I'll take it all day.
All right, sounds good. All right, everybody, before we move on to the rest of the stuff, remember, as we tell you all the time, please subscribe to this podcast on both SoundCloud and iTunes. We'd really appreciate that. Also, Twitter, he's at Fox Sports Foster, right? I'm at Halpin D.J. So ask us any draft questions, waiver questions if you've drafted already, stuff like that. What do I do about Martavis Bryant? All that kind of stuff. We're happy to help you out. Okay, you wrote over the weekend, TJ Yeldon. You said that you've ended up with TJ Yeldon in every single draft. I like TJ Yeldon. You like him more. Why so high on him?
I like him a lot, and I'm scared to death of my fantasy football seasons relying so much on TJ Yeldon. It's always scary when you have multiple teams and you get that one guy in each one of your leagues because he makes or breaks your whole year. And that guy for me is TJ Yeldon this year. Didn't see it coming, but look where I've been getting him. Bottom of the 5th, top of the 6th round. It's just so hard to find a guy who should be a clear-cut 3-down back. That's the way they treated him in the preseason game, the one preseason game he played in. They put him in for a goal line carry, and he got a touchdown. He stayed on the field on 3rd downs. There's no reason to believe why he wouldn't be a 3-down back. He's got the skill set to do it. So I think Jacksonville's offense is going to be sneaky good this year. I think Bortles takes a jump. Allen Robinson's a good threat on the outside. I think there's some talent there. I think people are saying it's the same old Jags, and I just don't think so. I think Yeldon could provide really good value for where he's going in draft.
Yeah, he's going right at that wheel between the 5th and 6th. So you're good with that. I think I'm good with that too. I like him. I think I have him at 22nd on my running back ranking. So I think they're looking to give him as much work as he can handle. And Denard Robinson might be a little bit of an annoying gnat for a while, but after a while, I think Yeldon probably just kind of runs with it. Okay.
Before you jump, people are scared off by the Gerhardt thing last year, right?
Right.
If you remember, right, Gerhardt went in like the 3rd round, and people were talking about, oh, he's going to get all these carries, and I think people are still a little freaked out by that. But the 3rd round and the late 5th, start of the 6th are 2 completely different animals, right?
Yeah. Okay, I'm with you. I think it sounds good. Okay, next up, you wrote, all right, Chris Ivory. Oh, you did an ADP either-or comparison kind of thing. And the one that jumped off the page at me was Chris Ivory over Andre Ellington. If I could have, I would have reached through the computer and shook you when I read that. Whoa, what's going on with why? Chris Ivory, why?
I've been getting a lot of Chris Ivory backlash for that. I'm way in on Chris Ivory, and everyone keeps telling me how stupid I am for it. I like him. First off, he's always been productive. He's always averaged right around like 4.5 yards per carry on his career. So if he gets the touches that the Jets should give him, considering there's Powell, I'm not worried about. Vereen, when he comes back, yeah, he could steal a little bit of work. Zach Stacy, not
Ridley,
worried.
not Vereen, Ridley, you mean?
Ridley. I'm sorry, Ridley.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's his job. It's his job right now. So I could easily see him getting over 200 carries. He should be the clear-cut goal line back there. I just think where he's going, you can get pretty good production. I like him better in standard leagues than PPR leagues, which is why I could see you wanting to choke me over the Ellington thing. But I'm not sold that Ellington is going to get nearly the workload that he got last year.
All right, there's someone, I wish I could give credit where it's due here to somebody, but I don't remember who had said it. And Chris Ivory is one of those guys. When I watch Chris Ivory run, I love it. I think, wow, this guy should be somebody's lead back. But he's never anybody's lead back. And I always feel like someone said yesterday somewhere, I saw it on Twitter, I forget who said it, and said, why do his coaches always look for other complementary options? And that's the thing. Like, I'm with you. I love Chris Ivory, but the path to 200-plus carries always seems murky to me with him.
It does always seem to elude him. That's true. But every once in a while you get a guy like that who ends up having a pretty nice fantasy season. Like, I think you could say a lot of the same things about Mark Ingram, at least at the start of his career, right? It always looked like he had a clear path to 200 carries and never got it. And then when he finally did, he was.
And Chris Ivory got in the way.
Right.
Damn right.
Right. So I'm. Let's put it this way: I'm more sold on Yeldon than I am on Ivory. How about that?
Right. And you're not sold at all on Andre Ellington.
On Ellington?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm worried. I think that's going to be more of a committee situation than the ones that we've been talking about so far.
Okay. Packers, we don't need to rehash the Jordy Nelson thing anymore. And Devontae Adams, I think we're all pretty much in sync on Devontae Adams within some range of wide receiver 2, maybe low 3, something like that. But someone else has to step up. The guy who was Devontae Adams last year has got to emerge. The guy, name me the Packer receiver, one of them's a tight end, that you're most likely to draft late and let's say have it as a dart throw. Ty Montgomery, Jeff Janis, Richard Rodgers, tight end.
It's really tough for me because when I look at the skill sets, it says Janis. He's the tall, the big guy, the athletic freak that should line up on the outside, which was Jordy's role. Ty Montgomery, though, can do a lot of different things. I think he's probably the more versatile receiver, but Randall Cobb's going to be spending a lot of time in the slot. So it's very difficult for me. I'm torn on both those guys. I'm at the point where I'm going to wait for one of them to come off the board and then just take the other one. I really don't have much of a preference there yet.
Okay. And Richard Rodgers as kind of a late tight end, any interest?
Yeah, sure. Sleeper tight end, especially with the way the tight end position has been shaken out this preseason with the injuries and just guys not stepping up. I like him as a tight end too, flyer. Sure, why not?
Yeah, after the first 4, I don't feel like the next 20 are the same, but I don't feel like anybody excites me to where I need to jump.
Yep.
One thing I heard about Janis yesterday, I was listening to one of the shows on Sirius XM, Fantasy Sports Radio, John Hanson's show in the middle of the day. And one of the Packer beat writers from the Journal Sentinel was on. And they asked him about Montgomery or Janis. And he said, Montgomery doesn't like when you're basically getting down the ladder in the pecking order on your wide receivers, they have to play special teams too. And he said that Mike McCarthy might not play Janis because his special teams play is so bad, which is one of those things that people like us don't think about all the time. When the coach says it, you go, oh, right. That's like the running backs blocking. We don't care if they block what the coach does, and we have to understand it.
Oh, right. It's still an actual sport. Yeah,
that's right. We have to.
It does not factor into decisions very much for me.
Right. If he whiffs on a block 10 times, we could care less. But the coach has to sort of factor that into his planning. But yeah, I thought that was an interesting note about Janis. But I would view, he's an interesting looking guy. Big, fast, all that stuff.
Right.
All right. I want to get to our ranking differences. We posted our latest rankings update on Monday, the 31st, and I scanned them for places where you and I differ. Yeah. And I want to talk about one big one at every position, or the 4 main positions. Cam Newton, I have him 5th at quarterback. You have him 12th. Is it all the wide receiver? It's got, the Kelvin Benjamin thing obviously is a factor. Where did you have him before that?
I believe I had him around 9 or 10.
Okay.
And I think it's so close with those guys in that grouping that losing a top receiver like Benjamin drops him a little bit. When I hear him as QB12, I'm like, I should probably bump him up 1 or 2 spots. But here's the thing. Cam has declined every year since his rookie year. Rushing stats, throwing, accuracy, yards, everything down since his rookie year. What happens when Jonathan Stewart gets hurt like he always does? And we're looking at an offense where it's literally Cam, Greg Olsen, and a bunch of dudes, right? A bunch
of dudes is right. That's right.
Yeah. I like Cam in best ball quite a bit because you get those rushing touchdowns, you get those rushing yards, and he'll be your quarterback a couple weeks there when in those best ball draft masters. But in standard leagues, he's going to put up some duds, right?
He will. You're right. There's going to be, because when he doesn't throw, if the weeks he doesn't run, he's not going to be the guy who throws for 300 yards, most likely. You're right. All right.
So give me the counter argument.
Yeah, the counter argument is, for me, last year I almost want to throw out for him because everything went wrong, especially with him, with the car accident and the ankle injury and the rib in the beginning that made him miss the game and all that stuff. That I feel like I want to say, just let it go. Just forget it happened because it was such an aberration. The 2 years before, he was top 5.
Yeah.
And I think they always talk a good game about how they're not going to have the offense revolve around Cam running. And they always wind up needing him to do it. And it's not like they design, it's not a bunch of designed read options as much, but he's good at that. He's good at taking off out of the pocket. So some of them are designed, some of them he has to scramble, but when he does that, he picks up yards. And I think inside the goal line, I actually think the Kelvin Benjamin injury, you could argue, and I will argue, that it makes him more likely to score rushing touchdowns. Because I think they like the idea of throwing to Kelvin Benjamin inside, let's say, the 5-yard line as sort of that fade, because he could go up and get the ball and take it away from people because he's so big.
Sure.
But now inside the 5-yard line, Cam's their best option.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I do think to go back to special teams and never thinking about it, does the PAT rule affect Cam? Does he get a couple of those little 2-point conversion QB draw plays this year? I mean, that could swing. The quarterbacks are so tight, within like 10, 15 points of each other. Something like that can move him up a couple spots, right? I
think that's really interesting. Yeah, I don't think it happens all the time, but I think it might happen. Like you said, 10 or 15 points, there could be enough to make an impact there. And I think some teams, I'm curious to see how that shakes out. I think some teams, I wound up I didn't really alter my kicker rankings based on that stuff, just because I feel like I don't know how it's going to shake out.
Right.
And I didn't want to base anything on it. I do think that some of the more creative coaches like Belichick and Chip Kelly and guys like that might play around with that a little more.
It totally could be like the NBA 3-point line in the 80s, right? Where they introduced it and everyone, there's going to be a bunch of guys shooting threes, and no one shot threes.
That's right.
So we'll see.
All right. Next up, Alfred Morris. You don't like Alfred Morris.
I don't.
12th. You have him 22nd. First of all, did the RG3 news affect that for you at all?
A little bit, because typically rushing quarterbacks, or at least have the ability to scramble, help the running backs. From what we've seen in the past, anyways, it just kind of clears up more lanes for them to run. So that affected me a little bit. Did it affect you?
No, I left him alone. I figured Morris on the. I do like Matt Jones, and I think he's going to play on third downs a little bit, but. I like Morris. I think they're going to have to run, and unless the whole offense completely falls on his face, which is possible, I think Morris is going to get enough work to be relevant. I think he's going to run, somewhere up toward 300 times, and you almost can't help but get 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns if you do that.
Sure, if he gets that workload, yeah. I mean, to me, it's not all that dissimilar to the San Francisco 49ers running back situation with Carlos Hyde and Reggie Bush, except Matt Jones is young and has lots of legs in him. And I think when the Redskins are down, Morris isn't going to be in there. And I expect the Redskins to be down quite a bit. And the offensive line is so bad in preseason. It's just, I'm just down on him. I'm fine with him as a RB2. Sure, RB2, fine. Back end for me, but still, I just have a really hard time taking him as an RB1.
All right. Next up, wide receiver, Jarvis Landry. You're hot. You like Jarvis Landry.
I do. I didn't think I did, but then when I started looking at everything, I really started to kind of fall for him a little bit.
Yeah, he's you got him I got him 32nd. You got him 21st. And here's I'm going to add a qualifier to mine. And I'm not just going to say, oh, PPR is great. Well, of course, because he caught like 8 billion passes last year and averaged 9.5 yards or whatever it was. Right. But what he showed last year is not really what he is. Like, if you just look at the numbers and you say, oh, that guy averaged a shade under, it was a little under 10 yards a catch, right? And and you look at it and you say, oh, well, he's a possession receiver. He's really not. He's fast. He's a bit more of a playmaker than, let's say, looking at the numbers would give him credit for. And I'm definitely willing to admit I may be underselling him. I want to hear you pump up Jarvis Landry.
Okay. For me, it's all about just opportunity, right? And that's the big thing in fantasy football. You're always looking for who's getting the most opportunity, most targets. Landry, last 8 games of last season, averaged 9 targets per game. 9. So, you catch 6 or 7 of those, he's pretty steady from a PPR perspective. The receiver situation, a lot of people thought, it would change quite a bit this offseason. They moved in different personnel. Kenny Stills is apparently might not even start. Devontae Parker is still not back yet, still didn't play in preseason, so there's going to be a learning curve for him. I just think Tannehill trusts Landry, and he's going to be the guy that he goes to.
All right, yeah, I think you may be. It didn't take much work, but you may be swaying me already a little bit.
I will admit, I think I'm a little too bullish because when I hear 21, I'm like, okay, wide receiver 2. I think he's right on that swing point of wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. So I should probably have him closer to 24, 25, right in there. I'm comfy there.
Okay, last one. It's not a big one. Tight ends. We don't have a lot of big differences. Tyler Eifert, though, you have him inside your top 10, and I don't. Right, so that's a big. You seem to think last year. I think we thought he might step up, and then he got hurt right away, and there was no chance to step up. Right. But now he's got the job to himself. He's pretty talented. It looks like he could be in line for a big year. Like I said earlier, I don't know if I'm willing to commit draft resources to a tight end after the first 4. I think I'd rather wait. But if you're going to, you seem to think Eifert in let's say around 10 or 11, I think is where he's going, right? Yeah, right in there. And look, I'm with you completely. Just wait on the tight ends. There's really such little separation that to take one of those guys over the other one, they're just all clumped together. So just wait till a few go off the board and then snag someone. But if you are going to look in there, I do like Eifert. Like you said, talented guy, big, had a somewhat productive rookie season, which is pretty difficult for tight ends to do, especially since he was splitting time with Jermaine Gresham at the time. I like him. I think Jeremy Hill is going to suck in defenders. I think there's going to be some good play action there. You got A.J. Green on the outside lifting the safeties over the top. I can just picture Eifert getting a lot of seam routes up the middle. I'm just a believer. I don't know how else to say it. Okay, that's fair. I know you're not alone. I will say that. People seem to like Eifert. Okay. And we've got, by the time we're doing this on Tuesday, let's see, 3:30 Eastern is what my clock says. By the time a lot of people listen to this, our draft will be over. DJ and I are going to be, our Fox in-house draft is tonight. Now I know I have to go get TJ Yeldon before the 5th round if I want him.
You guys are all going to leave him there for me just to test me, just to test my resolve. I can already tell.
I'm going to say, I know who's DJ. I know who he's taking next. I know it. All right, DJ, what else are you working on?
Fantasy football gear up. Just drafts constantly and just rankings adjustments and freaking out about news that I shouldn't freak out about. Travis Kelce twists an ankle and it's the end of the world for the next 2 hours. Yeah, it's madness right now. Madness.
I'm with you. Yeah, we've got, like I said, our rankings were updated on Monday. Chats during the week. Are you doing Tuesday night chat if people get this in time?
I am doing a mock with Fox actually on Wednesday.
Okay,
so tomorrow, Wednesday, join me for that. Sign up for that.
Adam's doing the Tuesday night chat. DJ's doing the mock with Fox. I'm doing a Thursday Periscope. We got a lot going on. If you want to mock, please do so. If you want to join a league or start a league, go to foxsports.com/fantasy. You can do that right away. Just get cranked up for your fantasy football season. You can play with us, or you can just, get some of the analysis and advice from us. We're happy to help you out anytime. Again, on Twitter, DJ's at Fox Sports Foster. I'm at jhalpin37. So send us a note. We'll be happy to help you out. Everybody, again, please subscribe. iTunes and SoundCloud. Subscribe to the Fantasy 15. Check out all our coverage. Like I said, foxsports.com/fantasy. We're going to be back here on Friday with another podcast. wrapping up a lot of the, I guess, the final preseason games. Some of them are going to be on Thursday night, right?
Yep.
All of them, lots of them. So come back and check out our podcast on Friday. Thanks for listening today. For DJ Foster, I'm John Halpin. Thank you for listening to the Fox Fantasy 15.